all good. So I just gotta hit start streaming. I think that's it. Live. Oh, of course. As soon as I hit start streaming, it goes from bad to good.
That happens all the time.
Whatever, YouTube. You do what you want, YouTube. My question is it going to get blurry once I get on camera?
I don't know.
With the new settings?
You can kill that.
Because you can't help but watch?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I got two on it. Ah. Avert your eyes. We have a job to do. Hey, we're live. It showed up right away.
Yeah.
It's
Holy cow,
Christmas
wait, I wonder if it sent out notifications.
I don't know. Well, it should. I only have one video today, so.
That doesn't mean squat. You know YouTube.
No, hopefully it's not blurry. That's kind of what I'm watching for you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really short.
No, wait, I could probably go down. Yeah, I can go
Well, I'm
down.
supposed to be up.
Oh.
What's up, Zane Parker, fool of a took? How's it going? Okay, waiting for me to sit down. I'm trying to see if it's blurry. I can't tell. Sometimes it'll look clear on the little screen, but it's actually not clear because you can't tell. Man, my hair is all crazy today.
All sorts of everything.
Tell I wore a hat today. What's up, sweet life of Dio Brando? All right. Exciting stuff. Unique New York.
Yeah, right.
No, how's it going, guys? This is obviously our once per month that we actually do our podcast live. No, it will not be up after the fact, except for $10 and up backers on Patreon. It will be put up on Monday as usual with the proper title, thumbnail, all that great stuff, all the links to audio, all that. This is just more of an advertisement that we do publicly for the Patreon that does support this podcast. Mm-hmm. The podcast is 100% supported by Patreon. It happens every single week because of Patreon. It is probably the only show on our whole channel that's kind of reliant on Patreon per se. But yeah, Patreon supports the whole channel. So if you want to catch the podcast, $5 a month for early access on Sundays. For the audio version, $10 a month to watch it on Thursdays when we, or whatever day, if we push it, like tonight, it would have been tonight, for $10 and up backers. And $20 a month, you can actually be on an episode of the podcast. So, yeah, if you like what you see, if you enjoy watching this stream live, if you enjoy all the extra shenanigans like this little conversation that doesn't happen or won't be in the final version, yeah, you're going to want to check us out for $10 a month. That being said, we have a good show for you guys. I also kind of want to give a tease. Today, I have made a bunch of purchases for the new setup that we're going to be doing. You guys can't see it yet, but it's almost everything we need to finish it off. Besides, we have some new paint and a few mounting things, but we'll worry about that once this other stuff gets in and we set it up and we see what things are going to look like. As for when we're going to debut the new podcast set, which is also going to be used for some other things, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. No.
Because I wasn't planning on it until sometime this summer, but we'll see. Because I don't want to debut it until we have some other things locked in place. Because there's going to be some format changes to the podcast, some extra people that are going to be on the podcast. So I have to kind of line everything up right. But hopefully, if things work out, my goal is to debut the new set before E3. I kind of want to get our betting special on that set. I don't know if that's going to be the debut episode, but maybe the first time we do an E3 hype episode. Basically, as soon as the clock turns and we start talking a lot about E3, that's when I want to debut that set. And I think it's going to be killer to debut that heading into E3 and then having that set right when we come back from E3. It's going to be sick. Obviously, the podcast we record at E3 won't use that set, but
yeah.
I mean, we're at E3.
We use headphones.
That's assuming that we record it there.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have any extra guests with us, we could just wait till we get back.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We shall see. I hope to have guests on. So, got a bunch of people that are talking to me that want to meet up while I'm there. I don't know if we're going to have time, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I want to get Zion.
Oh, yeah.
He's going.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And he lives in Wisconsin.
Well,
Technically, I could get him to come to the set.
Yeah.
But, anyways. All right. Ugh. Let's just get this shindig going. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, episode 103, the very first episode recorded in April. Technically not the first one to release because we did have one come out on April 1st.
We did?
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't a fool?
It wasn't a fool. We
Huh?
didn't even make any jokes.
Oh!
It's because it wasn't recorded. I think we weren't even thinking about it.
No,
at the time.
that's probably true.
I am your host as always, Nathaniel Ruffle-Jans, joined to my left and your right by...
Eric Moore.
And yeah, that's all we have today. We don't have any patrons or anything on today. Sorry, patrons, I didn't get the post up yet. I meant to get it up on Monday, but it's been a hectic week, so I will get it up probably tomorrow. I'll probably put a note on my whiteboard to remind me. So I'll get that up so you guys can sign up for podcasts the rest of this month. And for those that are wondering what I'm talking about, if you are a $20 backer on patreon.com/Nintendo Prime, you can be on an episode of the Nintendo Prime Podcast every single month. For $10 a month, you get to watch it early on Thursdays. Basically, you get to watch the recording of the podcast. And then for $5 a month, you get the audio version a day early. You can $1 a month, just get you get access to our Discord server, all this stuff. So you can check out our Patreon, basically. And before we get into anything, we do need to do our Patreon fulfillment. So if you are a $10 and up backer on Patreon, one time per month, we will read out your name and your pledge. And thank you so much for your support for making this podcast possible. So you guys want to read out the first one?
Yeah, I can. That would be Mr. B. Righteous.
Yeah, he's a $20 backer.
Yeah.
After that we got Neil Willis.
Neil Willis.
Another $20 backer.
Yep. Two Holmes.
Another $20 backer there. Andrew 243 Aberg, a $20 backer.
And then Corey Boehm.
Yep. $20 backer.
Yep.
We got Robert D. Smith the Fourth.
Nice.
$20 backer.
And then we got Joshua Farrington.
He's a $10 backer. Then we got Gamer Pon, who is a $10 backer.
Okay. And then we got Edward Norton.
For $10. We got Zenith for $10.
Roy Elmer.
For $10. We got Lord Platypus.
Nice.
Platypus.
Nice.
For $10.
Nice. They got Fool of a Took.
$10. Mark Boohager, $10.
Nintendog.
$10. And that's
Nice.
it for our $10 and up patrons. I think in the past we read off the $5 ones, and then after I rechecked my Patreon, it was only supposed to be $10. Now.
Whoops.
So I also appreciate all you $5 and $1 backers as
Yeah.
well. We obviously have more $5 and $1 backers than anything. So thank you so much for your support. Hope you enjoy the perks that you get with this. And there will be some changes at some point this month to the Patreon, changing up some tiers, changing up some stretch goals. Got some interesting stuff in the works for it. I haven't done the changes yet because I got to make sure my schedule is able to do some of this stuff. As an example, I can tell you one thing right now. There will be once per month, like Google Hangout chat, where you guys can actually just get on video and just chat with me. It'll be private. I think it's going to be private. I don't think it's going to be public. I'll let the patrons decide each month if they want it to be a private one or a public one. But when I say public, I'm not reading the comments. Basically, if it's public, it's just so people know, hey, if you become a backer, you can get in this chat. But I don't really care either way. It's just it'll be once per month chat. Maybe even this is another one that I'm still debating on that I have to make sure I have time for, a once per month gaming session, like a guaranteed once per month that if you're at this tier, you will get to play games with me. Kind of thing. So that's just some stuff that's kind of floating out there that I'm making sure my schedule can handle. That being said, I guess we should just get into the podcast topics today.
Podcast topics.
Our first topic of the day is about third parties that seem to be fixing issues, in particular third-party accessory makers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's where you're going with that.
They seem to be fixing issues with the Switch. Now, the Switch has had numerous issues since it came out. The kickstand, horrible. Third-party accessory makers have done wonders in trying to fix it, from the metal kickstand, which might grind your system, so it might not be the greatest one, but it does work better than the plastic one, to various cases that have different types of kickstands, to even different back plates you can buy to put on the back of your Switch, and that has new kickstands. So like they've already tried fixing the kickstand issue. We have Hori, who came out with a D-pad Joy-Con for the left Joy-Con, so that's fixing the issue where people want an actual D-pad on the Joy-Cons. Unfortunately, that Joy-Con isn't wireless capable, so it's only good in handheld, so there is a drawback to it. And I don't think it has HD Rumble, of course. But again, it's a. I wouldn't call that an issue. I would call that a convenience. Where Nintendo should have released like bonus Joy-Cons you can buy with the D-pad, and they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So Hori kind of stepped in and provided options for that. We've also seen many people out there provide options for wireless Bluetooth headsets, little dongles you can plug into the USB-C port. We've seen like microphones that can plug into the top port as well to go along with it, so you can kind of have a completely wireless experience. All this stuff is to address issues that the Switch inherently has. But there's one issue that has never been fully addressed in terms of just, hey, you don't have to buy anything extra, just use what you already have. And that has to do with using headsets. So we're talking normal headsets with microphones that you see a lot of people use when they're playing on Xbox or PC or whatever. Because the problem that Nintendo Switch has is there's no way to hook up a wired version of that, or even a wireless, the Bluetooth thing. Obviously, that's why they have the Bluetooth dongles. But there's no way to hook up a wired version of that conveniently. In the past, if you're using the Nintendo Switch voice chat app, you've had to run cords to multiple things with a splitter or dumb. Yeah. But even if you want to play Fortnite, which uses local voice chat, in handheld mode, it's fine because you can just plug right into the headphone jack on the top. But when you're playing on a TV, most people don't have like a 30-foot cable to run from their Switch to their couch because you have to run a cord all the way from the Switch over, and that's not necessarily the best way to play. They did not put a headphone jack in the Pro Controller, and there's not any on the Joy-Cons. Now, there is an early design document that shows that the original plans for the Pro Controller had a headphone jack, but the final version does not. For whatever reason, Nintendo has never really addressed why that's the case. But what is interesting in all of this is now a third-party controller goes up for pre-order next month. And this third-party controller by PDP, a well-known accessory maker for Switch. I have some of their controller. I think actually my main controller is a PDP controller. They have this face-off edition controller where you can customize the faceplates and take them off and stuff. That is a wired controller, but it comes with an audio jack that it claims you can use for your normal headsets. So again, third-party accessory makers are fixing an issue that Nintendo self-created. Weird. So I guess my question to Eric is there anything else you want fixed? Like, third-party accessory makers are the one doing it. I would love Nintendo to do it, but
yeah, I don't understand the concept.
I get like, oh, geez, you don't want your screen scratched? You better get a third-party screen protector.
Right. I just don't understand the concept of we've had, Pro controllers with like the Xbox and stuff like that. That type of controller with the headphone jack in it. It's not a new thing. And part of me is wondering is if the reason why they scrapped the headphone jack is because they knew they were going to go the phone route.
But even then, what about people that want audio from their Switch?
I don't know.
In non-handheld mode. Well, obviously they don't care. Otherwise, they let you use Bluetooth wireless headsets when there's Bluetooth on the Switch.
It just beyond blows my mind that Nintendo, as much as I love the Switch, they find ways to screw something up.
I mean, like, it's so baffling because, like, on the Wii U, you had it. That headphone jack. Right. So, like, why did they go backwards?
Yeah. It makes no sense to me. How hard is it to put a small little headphone jack on the side of one of the Joy-Cons or something?
Or on the bottom.
Like
you have an IR camera on the one, so fine, maybe not that one. Then put it on the other one.
Yeah.
Our palms are generally not underneath the Joy-Cons like this. We're on the side, so like there's plenty of room to put a cord there. Right. Or put a hole.
Yeah.
I
don't know. It kind of peeves me off. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, granted, thank God third parties are actually stepping up and taking care of it.
About it. Yeah. And again, this is a wired controller. If I had to guess, the reason it's wired is because the Bluetooth technology that third parties are now allowed to use to have Bluetooth controllers on Switch, I don't think can transmit audio. So I think that's why it's wired, because because you could plug in a USB headset if you wanted to your Switch and get audio. So again, it's still not perfect if you don't want a wired controller.
Right.
But at least it'll be a wire that's long enough and it's just one cord.
Yeah, it's an option.
And you conveniently, whatever headphones you have, headset you have, heck, you just have like the Apple AirPods with the little mic on it. You just plug it in.
Right. You're more apt to have a longer USB cord than you are a audio jack cord.
Audio jack cord. Like, yeah, we have long enough cables here, but that's because we have audio equipment.
Right.
Like, most people aren't rocking audio equipment to pull that off.
Right.
God. Is there anything else you want fixed?
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Like any issues you've had with the Switch that are kind of even if it's a minor annoyance, that isn't a big deal. You know, triggers or
Yeah,
ergonomics.
honestly, though, I think my right trigger is starting to stick.
Top or bottom?
Top. No, bottom. Back one.
Okay, the big one?
Yeah, the big one. I think it's
Have
starting
you looked
to
to see
stick.
if it's dirty?
No, I haven't. But
Okay.
I don't really play my Switch all that often, so I'm like, how the hell is anything getting dirty?
Well, it depends
But-
on where you stored it and if anything got spilled.
It sits in my case.
Okay.
So,
I don't know.
or
That's weird.
or feels like it's getting harder to push. So it's I don't
I
know.
wonder if something broke.
Maybe.
That's happened before on other control. I've had that happen on an Xbox controller before, where like a plastic thing broke in there, so it would like get in the way of me trying to push it in.
I mean, it still works, but it feels like it's harder to
Yeah,
push
it's
it,
not- it's not
or
like-
it doesn't have the spring. It kind of will go down and then it'll kind of slowly work its way back up, and it's like, this seems a little interesting.
I might have to take your Joy-Con apart.
Yeah, probably.
Um,
I don't know. Other than, I mean, I don't know. Well, though the fact they still haven't fixed the metal nubs or plastic nubs.
Oh yeah, the plastic nubs on the Joy-Cons instead of putting them with metal, so
Third
they
party
stop
again.
breaking. Also, here's one. This is actually for the next topic. We'll just tie it right in. Joy-Con drift.
Yeah.
It has been discovered now why there's Joy-Con drift issues. You guys have any issues with Joy-Con drifting, especially that left stick? I can tell you why it's happening now. Someone finally took apart the joystick and figured it all out. And how the joystick kind of works is there's these contact pads inside that when you're moving the stick around, there's like these two metal prongs that move back and forth on the contact pads so for your X and Y axis. And what's happening is the metal prongs are wearing down the contact pads and putting a groove in it, which is leading to the X and Y axis not being read properly. So even when you're not touching the stick, there's a groove. So it feels like it's being pressed. And because it feels like it's being pressed, ergo, your character is now moving without you touching the stick.
Huh.
So that is a design flaw. That is a straight up design flaw that other
Yeah, I would say
controllers
so.
do not have.
Yeah.
Most controllers do not have. And there's nothing that can be done about that in the current Switch other than them making a all new design Joy-Con stick. And this also might be why people who do buy things like the Hori replacement Joy-Cons haven't had drifting issues with theirs because they're using their own proprietary sticks. So
Right. That's
again,
Yeah.
an issue Nintendo self-created that doesn't need to exist. And there's no reason for this to be a problem because Nintendo has not had this drifting problem with like any other joystick they've ever made.
I mean, we've had
So, like
joysticks for
it's
how
literally
long?
like it's either cheaped out or I don't know, maybe the manufacturer they're using cheaped out.
Again, this also leads to the thought process of they rushed this out the door.
But my thing is, why isn't it fixed by now?
They're
They
probably
fixed the dock scratching, so why can't
I-
why can't they put a better stick in it so we get rid of drifting?
They have so many issues that they're trying to fix. I don't know.
Waiting
Well,
for the Switch Pro.
Waiting for the Switch Pro, exactly, or the Switch Mini. I mean, heck, they have so many issues. Not even just with, with the Switch itself. I mean, the online service is garbo. We've talked about that. We've beaten that dead horse multiple times.
Whipped it to
Actually, just a question for you. I read, are they stopping NES games?
Okay. So what happened is there was this pamphlet handout in Hong Kong advertising the Switch Online service, and on the page that has all the games listed, it says something along the lines of NES games will no longer be added after a period of time.
Oh.
Whatever
Okay.
that period of time is, we don't know.
Okay.
It could be years.
Right.
It could be tomorrow. We
Right.
don't know.
Okay.
But it's more so when I did my video on it, my criticism of it wasn't that they're obviously going to have to stop adding them at some point.
Yeah.
It's that they're already talking about, probably for legal reasons, that they are going to stop adding them at some point before they announce what else they're going to be adding. Like,
Yeah,
how
right.
hard
They
is it to announce,
Yeah.
hey, look, we're adding SNES games later this year?
Right.
So then, like, so when we hear the announcement, though, NES games are going to stop at some point, yeah, but we know more is coming.
Right.
And then it's like, now we have to worry about NES games might stop at any point,
Right. And we
and we
not
don't have anything else.
Anything else? Yeah.
Again, I know
well-
they're being transparent. This is actually a form of transparency. Letting us know
Right.
someday we might not get it, even though it's in a weird pamphlet out in the middle of Hong Kong, and it's in Japanese, even though it's in China. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know where
but-
I mean, I just don't know where their focus is at because, you have all these problems. You have the online service, but then then they decided that they had to create stuff for a store for the online service. So it's like, okay, you can create NES controllers
Mhm.
or NES Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, fix the ones that you already have. I mean, seriously.
But they already have the old controllers nailed down. It's easier to
Yeah,
do.
they do. You're right.
It's easier to do.
You're right. They had they didn't have a problem with that. Yeah, I saw those. Yeah.
I usually don't pay attention to the chat that much when we're doing these live because we're only do this once a month. But I mean, someone super chatted, so hey,
Yeah.
thanks Amazing Key for the support. All right, it's gone.
Yeah, it just frustrates me that you just don't see where Nintendo's focus is at. And it doesn't seem like they're in a hurry to do anything to fix anything themselves.
I think the hardest part about, like, here's the thing. We praise Switch on the weekly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the hardest part in watching third parties fix things is just Nintendo's lack of admitting there's a problem.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if Nintendo could... I'm not going to say that Nintendo should come out and just say the Switch is garbage. Like, no, of course not.
Nobody's saying that.
But they can at least be like, hey, we're aware that there are problems and we're working towards a solution. Even just a general statement like that. Like, hey, we're aware that there's an issue with Joy-Con drifting and we're doing research and working on a solution. If you have if your Joy-Cons are drifting, please send them in to our support team.
Right.
Or whatever. Like, they did that at first when people were having connection issues, right?
Right.
They acknowledged that there was
Yeah.
a connection issue with the left Joy-Con and wireless. They acknowledged that was a problem, and they said, "Look, send it in, and we'll fix it, and we'll look into it." And they did that with that problem.
Yeah.
But why can't they do it with anything else? It's like we were willing to admit that this was a widespread enough problem, but everyone else, that's too isolated. We're not gonna. We'll fix it if you send it in, but we're not gonna admit there's anything going on.
I think it's the cat's too far out of the bag right now.
Well, at this point, yes.
There's
At
so
this point.
many Switches out on the market.
But this is 2+ years in. Why couldn't more than a year ago?
I don't know. Right.
Like now, it's like, oh, there's revisions coming, so that'll probably address most of it, you assume.
Mm-hmm.
But
You'd
it's
hope.
like, you could have talked about how you were at least aware of these problems, so we can assume they'll be fixed in revision. Right. How do we know the revisions aren't going to have all the same problems?
We don't. Until they come.
So...
It's assuming they're coming.
And the thing is, again, a lot of this is nitpicking outside of people having actual issues with their controllers. Drift is a major problem. People have bought multiple sets of Joy-Cons and all of them keep drifting because that grinding keeps happening. And it's not about how hard you press the stick. It's just about how much you're playing.
And the thing is
like you haven't had the problem yet because you don't play it enough to grind it enough.
And the thing is at $80 a pop, that's a garbage.
They have dropped down, I think, the 70, but still.
Wow. I mean, still. I mean,
hey, for Nintendo, that's
right.
a big
No,
deal.
you're right. You're right. You are very correct. But
older sets are 70, to be clear. If there's new colors, they're already 80.
But it's still at that much a pop, and you're not fixing the issue, and you know that they're gonna just wear out again. But then again, people are just gonna keep buying them because they have to.
That's the caveat. Is it a purposeful thing? Companies make products on purpose that wear out, so you have to keep buying new ones.
I realize that, but
they don't want them to last forever.
It shouldn't be.
They want you to keep buying.
It shouldn't
even
be
though
under
Joy-Cons
2
are
years.
collectible on their own because of the colors.
It shouldn't be under 2 years. It shouldn't be under a year.
Well, if it's under a year, see, they don't never want it to be under a year because that's warranty. They always want it to be just after a year.
About a year and a quarter, year and a half.
Like, give us a week.
Yeah.
A week past.
Right.
Then I can break my new one.
Yeah.
Because like I need new Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Straight up, I need like the problem I'm having. I've never heard anyone else have. My Joy-Cons, and I do need to test this. I gotta get yours.
Yeah.
I gotta make sure that it's my Joy-Cons, not my Switch. I'm having an issue, especially in Smash Bros. But it's happened in a few other games. When I'm playing in handheld, my controllers just disconnect and power off like they died, but they didn't die. And if I disconnect and if I take them off the Switch and resync them, they're fine. But every like 5-10 minutes, it happens. It's really annoying. So I basically do not play in handheld anymore. And again, I don't know if my Joy-Cons, not sure if it's my Switch. We'll have to do that test, but it's a problem either way.
Right.
And if it's a problem with the Switch, then what the?
Right.
If the Joy-Cons are broken.
Well, that was almost like my
Joy-Cons
my
are
Pokeball when I first.
Oh yeah,
when it first.
But I haven't had that issue.
When it died.
And that's the thing. I put my Joy-Cons in yours. You had like.
Yeah, I mean when it died, the fact that it just kind of froze and didn't allow me to do anything was just like, oh, well, all right.
So, the big thing is that I'm glad third parties are fixing this stuff.
Oh God, yeah. But they shouldn't.
I'm not saying that the third party accessories are the greatest or the best. Some of them really are amazing. I use a Pro Controller replacement right now that if it had Rumble, that's the only thing that's missing to me. It just needs Rumble. If it had Rumble, I would never buy a Nintendo Switch Pro Controller again. I had too many issues with it. So, I honestly, for everything the Switch gets right, from the form factor to the games, I even like how simplified the OS is. I like the speediness of everything, the convenience of docking and undocking. I think it's actually the right amount of portable. I don't mind that it's in general not considered pocketable. I don't really mind that so much because I never liked having my game device in my pocket anyways. I never put my 3DS in my pocket or my 2DS. Maybe Game Boy Color when I was a kid, but my original Game Boy I always had in a case. I've been buying cases for my portables forever. So like I've never really I never cared if it was pocketable because to me, heat, pocket, no. Like, I do it with my phone, and I don't even like doing it with my phone. That's why my phone spends a lot of time, like, in the front pocket of a jacket like this rather than in my pants. I just don't like it. The idea of battery, heat, body, no thanks. Like, I'd rather just have the device safer in its own thing. But, and safer for me, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, also, next to your unmentionables, heat tends to, lower the... Oh, you're done with that. Yeah, you're done with that. So, yeah. So maybe you should put your phone in your pocket.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'm glad that a lot of these things are coming up, and there's modifications I'll probably do to like my current Switch right now. If the Switch Pro comes out and I upgrade and I give my older Switch to one of my kids, like, I'm gonna do some modifications to it to make it safer for my kids, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like, I worry about that sometimes. That like not that it's dangerous, but that like how easily this thing's being damaged. And my kids barely touch my Switch, but when they do, every time I get it back, it's like they played it for 5 minutes and it suddenly has another thing going on with it. And I know my kids aren't the best at taking care of things to their children, but still, it's like, it shouldn't be that easy. I've had my kids touch like the SNES Classic.
Yeah.
God, they played the hell out of that thing. There's like, you couldn't even tell. It's still brand new. Like, and they've tossed the damn controllers and still works just fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
again, well, we've already established
design.
They already got the old school
quality.
Quality, yeah, and they've already got that covered. We've already established that.
If they chuck a Joy-Con, it ain't gonna survive.
Oh God, no! That's gonna shatter into pieces. Yeah.
Anyways,
but
it's. Can you? Okay, so you're having an issue with the bumper on the right. Like, is there anything else?
I know. I don't know how. But I know my case is cracked a small little bit. I mean, granted, it's tiny crack. Right up next to the headphone jack.
Yep. Okay. That's a common.
I don't remember if I have a chip or not in my screen, but I think that just might be my. I think it's just my protective glass.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
Take that off.
Yeah. No, I'm 90% sure it's my protective glass, but I'm trying to think of what else I have.
I need to get new protective glass for mine.
Don't think my Switch is bent.
I think mine is. Pretty sure mine's bent.
Mine might have a small bend.
It's not. It looks worse than it is because the back plate that I have is kind of warped a little bit, and it was warped when I put it on. So it looks worse than it is. Yeah. But I can kind of tell. I think mine has a. If I actually got a protractor, I'm pretty sure it's.
I'm wondering. Now that you say that, yeah, I think mine might.
Like
it's not.
It's not that
terrible,
that bothers me that I would notice if I wasn't looking for it.
Right.
So.
But again, that's another thing.
Why is it bending?
Why is it bending? That's another thing that we never mentioned. The fact that this thing can't dissipate heat very well.
Obviously, that's what we assume that's causing it bending anyways.
God, it's Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm really.
Do you have an issue with the cartridge flap? Some people, I've heard some people. I haven't had an issue with it, but I know some people said they do.
No, I just don't like the design of it.
Okay.
I think it's too flimsy.
Okay.
Granted, I know it.
I mean, it's just a rubber flap thing.
It's meant to not snap.
Yeah, it's meant to be open and close a billion times.
Right.
I mean, it's the same kind of rubber thing we've seen on a zillion other products, pretty much.
Right.
You know, like plugging up, ports and holes.
Yeah.
Kid toys mostly. You don't see it on a lot of adult products per se, but
right. I don't know if I like the design of it, but
I mean, old phones used to have like those little rubber things too.
For sure.
They don't anymore. Now they're all like you need a pin to open things up.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want a pin to open up to get a switch card out.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't. I'll have troubles with it. It's sticking every once in a while, but nothing like terrible.
Yeah, it's probably
it'll open and then it kind of sticks a little bit here, and then it's like, okay, come on, and then it finally opened, and I'm like, all right. it's good enough. But trying to think of other things that I haven't had any issues with my Joy-Con sliding on off with the nubs.
Yeah.
Haven't had that.
Yeah. Well, you probably haven't put the things on the wrong way.
No, I've had I got to bring my dock over because I've had problems with my
dock.
Yeah, with my HDMI port.
What's up with that? What's going on?
It's harder than hell to plug a damn cord into it. Like the angle of it, for me, is just a pain in the arse to get the HDMI cord into it. Yeah, it's
bent probably.
I don't know. So it's.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean that's easy to take apart and fix.
And sometimes I'm kind of wondering if my power.
Shouldn't have to take it apart.
I'm kind of wondering if my power, jack is jacked up too because I've set my switch down. All of a sudden, it's like I don't have power. Why do I not have power to my dock?
Oh, to your dock?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, it'll just turn back on. I'm like, all right, cool. So.
Well, we got to check your dock out then. See, I haven't had any issues with the dock per se. Not even scratching. Like, I don't have a screen protector on mine right now, and I haven't had any scratching.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had any issues with the dock yet. Besides the fact that it's kind of big, but I don't really know. The Switch is big, so it doesn't really bother me too much. And I have it wall mounted again, so it's kind of up and out of the way. I don't really think about the dock too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, the bottom line is there's been a lot of these little nagging issues that all add up to just being annoyances that we're not used to dealing with as Nintendo consumers.
Right. Again,
red ring of deaths.
Yeah.
Nub sticks breaking on the DS4s on PlayStation 4. The cracking and all that was happening at least at the beginning of the era of this generation. Like we've seen issues with other people. I mean, the NES and the blow-on cartridges, which they tell you not to do, but whatever. Everyone knows it works.
Yeah. Or the fact that when you technically with the front-loading NESs, it bends the pins when you push down the cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, the front loaders were not the best designed in the world.
Still work.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
some of them do.
We could say not the best design in the world, but a lot of them are still working. Like 40 years later. So I mean, yes, in theory, better design, but I have all the better designs that don't seem to last as long for other reasons.
Yeah,
not related to loading of things, but still. Honestly, I know it's a lot of nitpicking, but it adds up. And I'm glad that third parties are fixing things, and they'll continue to fix things. It's just
again, it's
you figure Nintendo has the quality control that I know. And again, I know I have that theory out there about the Switch Pro that this was a rush product because the Switch Pro wasn't ready or whatever. Like, that's fine.
It just it feels like it adds to that. It really does.
It does, but like, why? I'm just used to. I guess I'm just so used to better.
No, yeah.
Maybe I've just been spoiled by Nintendo. Like, I have issues with my phone. I have issues with every other electronic I ever have, but I've never had a problem with a Nintendo product. It just works.
Right.
Until now.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other issue I even remember growing up was the N64 stick breaking and getting the white powder. That was just a bad design stick. But that's the only issue. But I think back, like, that was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have it. Like, I guess some people had a problem with the hinges on the DS and 3DS, but I never ran into that problem. So, like, literally, I've never had a problem with it anything Nintendo from like a.
I've had a few problems with like
perspective
cords where they connect in, but that's mainly from wrapping.
Oh yeah, well if you wrap you're not supposed to do that. So you're kind of self-creating the problem. Now you know why you're not supposed to do that. So maybe your HDMI port's fine. Maybe you just wrap the fucking cord around.
Yeah. No.
Anyways, so I guess we'll move on to our only other topic, and this is more on maybe on the positive side.
Yeah.
So Switch can VR now?
Yeah.
Well, what?
I mean, we knew it could VR for a while. Well, we've talked about VR.
Yeah, like there's been the patents way back in the day.
Yeah.
And then they announced Labo VR.
Yes.
Which
we've talked about.
I still think is really brilliant and a great introduction to VR for kids. And I don't think screen resolution is going to matter. Like, apparently Switch's screen resolution is better than the OG Oculus. So like, for everyone's like, oh, the Switch and the screen resolution is going to be so bad. I'm like, well, did you enjoy the first Oculus Rift? Because it had a worse screen. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't think that's really a big deal.
Yeah.
Or as big a deal as people make it out to be. Yes, ideally we want OLED 4K displays, but let's just be honest, it's not happening. So
no, and not unless you want the Switch to be $1,000. I mean,
probably more.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that the Labo VR is fine. It's brilliant. I'm glad they have a cheaper entry starter kit level at $40. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was going to be at that. Maybe they release a few more kits for it, but that's pretty much it. Like that's Nintendo's VR. That's what they're going to do, and they're just going to kind of let it be this family thing. And by the way, it releases I think on April 12th, so it's coming up pretty quick. So I actually need to get my hands on one. Especially
because
apparently it's more than just
and the actual reason and the reason why the podcast is tonight.
Yeah, because the news broke and I had to cover it.
Yeah.
Switch does normal VR. Explain, Eric.
Explain. Yeah. So Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey now have VR support
as of the 25th of this month. So it's not right at launch of the goggles. Sorry. So it's going to be a couple weeks later.
We'll have.
That's when the update's coming out. So basically, the entirety of Breath of the Wild will be playable in VR with the Nintendo Labo VR. Outside the cutscenes, they note will not you can probably obviously watch them with the goggles on, but they won't be in 3D or VR. Those will just be like movie theater mode, I assume, on the cutscenes. So all the cutscenes, because they're all pre-rendered, and they probably weren't going to re-render them out to be VR.
Right.
That's probably the reality why that's the case. But the rest of the game will be in VR, the entire game. Super Mario Odyssey is just going to be like a specific new mode that they're adding. So it's kind of like they're just experimenting. Who knows? If it works out really well, maybe they'll add it to the whole game. But they're just experimenting right now.
Or maybe make a whole. Maybe Super Mario Odyssey 2 will have.
Who knows?
VR.
Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Splatoon.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line is they put it in Zelda for the entire game. That to me means anything. Mario Kart. I mean,
it means quite a bit.
There's a lot of questions around it. Like, okay, so at first it's this neat little family thing. Now you're telling me this is legit VR, is what you're telling me. Like,
yes.
This is no longer like a little family thing. We're talking Zelda. We're talking Mario.
Right.
Like, actual VR is what they're advertising this as.
Right.
Nintendo Labo VR.
Right.
Like,
right.
How? What? I can't be good, can it? Like,
right. I also want to point out, Nintendo actually did something. You have been generally adamantly against VR, and now it's all of a sudden magically, I have to get my hands on this.
But I need to get my hands on it because I gotta try it.
Yes, I know, but you
not because I actually think it's good. What did I just say? It can't be good.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I don't even like VR.
Right,
that's what you're getting at. I adamantly stated I don't like VR.
Yes,
but
the fact that they were able to actually,
like, I'm just curious. It can't be good. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not gonna say I've never had a good VR experience. It's just never been something I viewed as. It was always felt gimmicky to me. Like, even like playing Beat Saber, like, it's cool, it's fun, but it's still kind of gimmicky. Like, I'm not gonna do that at my home. You know, that's at an arcade, great, but I just what?
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild VR. Right? I mean, I know that's not first person, so it's third person VR, which is fine. But like, what?
And I mean, I saw a lot of the
how it's like I'm gonna run through the woods and the trees are gonna whoosh past my like. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know.
How does this work? Are you gonna include the fan module with the VR so I can like step on the pedal and have the wind flying by me as I ride my horse?
Or like, is your paragliding?
Paragliding? Yeah. Can I do the paraglider with the damn thing? Like,
yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. I don't know. They're
not going to do that because you need both
crazy.
controllers to play.
Right. Yeah.
But like maybe they let a second set of Joy-Con sync up so you can put it in the.
I mean, but
okay, I'm excited by the idea that Nintendo is somehow potentially treating this as serious VR. Like, it felt like it's okay because it's just a kid thing, introduction to VR.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, but Nintendo's now saying, hey, by the way, you could use it in these serious games,
right.
And that opens the door to potential future uses in serious games. And it's like
Pokemon Snap 2.
Yeah. Nintendo, if we don't get a Pokemon Snap 2 this generation, when you're putting it in Zelda, I'm gonna be.
Or have and you also have one of your.
You also have a camera thing.
I was gonna say one of your little 64 games is a camera game. That you can't tell me you can't get a Pokemon Snap 2 out. But yeah, that's a little bit off the Zelda route.
I found myself like I was speechless when I did it. I'm speechless now.
Yeah,
like,
right.
What? Like, okay, you have actually been excited about VR in the past.
I've never actually really played VR.
Experienced it.
But, But the concept of it, to me...
So what about this excites you? Or does it not?
It excites me a lot. I think the fact that I can... I know you're getting it I'll more than likely be able to experience it because obviously. But I think just to be another level of immersion into the game might take things to another level.
Well, that's always been the advertisement for VR is immersion.
Mm-hmm.
It can immerse you in a way you're not going to get just looking at a screen. I've never felt it. Like Beat Saber is probably the closest I've been, and even then, it felt like kind of a neat thing rather than I'm like imagining. Like I already get immersed when I play Breath of the Wild,
yes.
especially on my own.
Yeah,
like with no one around, big screen. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like imagine that I feel like I'm in that world, that I am
exactly.
that I am a god looking down upon like in the actual world.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
like even imagine that opening shot where he's running out and like I'm just like in VR.
But it's not.
But it's going to be
cutscene.
No, pre-rendered cutscenes are like the memories. That's something that happens in the actual game world.
Oh.
That's not a pre-rendered cutscene.
Okay.
That's where you lose control of your character.
Well, you do lose control of your character when he starts to. I mean, you can.
But they mean the actual cutscenes.
Yeah, like before it comes up with the Breath of the Wild part of it. When he starts,
there's actually like a load screen going into it. This one, that's a seamless. It just takes you over.
Yeah.
And does the title thing.
Yeah.
But like whatever, you could do that without whatever.
Right.
You just stand at the point of the cliff and look. Like
right. Exactly.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things that
I could feel like I'm living like.
Holy crap! Wait! Did we actually find something that shuts Nate up? it doesn't have words for.
I don't know what this like until you experience it.
Yeah, right.
I've experienced VR before, and I think it's neat, but I don't. I
Have
never
you
thought it was going to be mainstream.
Have you ever had a game that was similar to Breath of the Wild, where like you're in a like an actual world, not like Beat Saber, where you're just kind of. From what I've seen of Beat Saber, you're just kind of standing there, swinging your.
Well, yeah, but you're inside this like tunnel kind of thing,
right?
Yeah.
But not like an actual open.
Wait, they've had Resident Evil 7. I've tried. It's really cool in VR, but it's like, but I don't know that I prefer it more than just playing on a TV, and that's not really open world per se. I don't know if I've played a fully open world game in VR.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's some that exist, but I haven't experienced it. So
right, that might be something that actually takes it to the next level then for you, to actually make you bring you into the VR. To me, it's more of the concept right now. To me, that excites me.
Well, and there's certain things has to happen. Because right now, the only way that I can even imagine how this works is if you look at all the advertisements for Labo VR, there's no head strap.
Right.
There's nothing to set it in like Virtual Boy to like at least lean into or whatever. It's I'm gonna be holding it like this to my face. That part I'm like no. If that's how I'm playing Breath of the Wild, if I have to hold it to my face with the Joy-Cons up here, like no,
especially
like, just doing this right now, like my elbows are already starting to hurt, and I'm not even holding anything.
Right.
So like doing that temporarily for a mini game, fine. Doing that for a game that I want to sit down for hours.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, no.
Right.
But if there is a head strap accessory, they just haven't unveiled yet that comes in the box because it just doesn't work with any of that stuff, but it works with the VR stuff in the future.
Yeah,
that's a bit different
right.
now because I didn't know when you look at the design of it, there's these two notches and indents that go on that you think are connection points. And while it might connect the cardboard and everything, what if it also is a snap point to snap in a headgear thing? So and again, it's going to probably be heavy, but I mean, VR headsets in general, from what I've worn, have always
they
felt
probably
a little
could
weighty,
be a hell of a lot heavier if they weren't cardboard.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you gotta look at it that way
plastic
too.
can be pretty light too. So
yeah,
I am just, if they include a head strap of some type, I think it'll be interesting to see.
I know.
Then they could use this for so many games.
Right. I know in the one Facebook post and everything else, I've seen a lot in the comments that, it doesn't look like it changes anything. Well, you can't in a video, you can't really.
If you watch videos of Beat Saber, if you watch videos of any VR game, just watch a video.
It's a video.
On YouTube.
It looks like a normal.
You're watching a video.
Yeah.
The VR is you are inside of the game. You can't mimic that experience. Right. The closest you get in video are the 360 videos.
Right.
And even then, you're still that only really works well if you are. That is the one. Okay, I will say this about phone VR. I think phone VR isn't that great, but the 360 videos are kind of cool in phone VR. When you turn the gyroscope on and you look around, and like that, it's kind of cool. That's like any movie theater mode or 360 video I think is really cool with phone VR. But other VR games on phones are just kind of gimmicky and just whatever. But actual VR like the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift and even the PlayStation 4 VR, like they're trying to bring you into the game, and you can't. You try to simulate that as much as you can. Like you'll see, even YouTubers that'll be like, oh, "Here's me on the headset," then I'll green screen it to try to make it look like I'm in the game. But bottom line is that's not.
You're right.
You're trying to simulate what it feels, but you're not really going to get the true experience.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When they show Breath of the Wild being played in VR and they just show Breath of the Wild on the screen, what do you expect it to look like?
Right. You also aren't having the lenses that are making it.
Yeah, like the lenses are everything.
Yeah.
The lenses are what make VR work. Just so people know how important the lenses are. Without the lenses, VR does not exist. So like we don't have the lenses on, ergo we're never going to be able to tell. And even if we did, we're not looking at the right thing in the right mode. And we're looking at they're not putting you two images up on the screen just presuming that you have lenses at home that you're watching it through. Like, no. It's an ad.
Right.
And that was the complaint about, why did they show more with Labo VR at the reveal? Like, it's so hard to show off. Even if you look at the commercial they did create for it, it's like, yeah, they made it cool by like taking the kid and putting him inside the world, but like even then, that's not exactly how it's going to be.
No.
It's they're trying to make you understand what it's going to be like.
That's more of a concept thing that you feel like you're in the game.
Yeah,
you can't actually really show the world wrapping around you. Literally, it's hard to actually physically show it.
Yeah. So as long as there's a head strap, and even if there's not, I'm telling you, by the time the games come out, there's going to be a third party accessory fixing the problem.
You do realize what's going to happen.
What?
I'm going to end up being like this, setting the faceplate here and going like this, and playing like this for 3 hours.
No, because it's cardboard. Crush the cardboard.
I'll find something soft to put it on. I don't know. But it's going to be here, and I'm going to be thought it and then playing.
Oh, you can lay it back. Either then you got to hold your hands up, though.
Or you lay on your bed and throw it on your face and let gravity hold it down and then play.
No, I'm going to duct tape it. I swear, if they don't come up with a strap by then, we obviously got to make a video, but this is the best way to enjoy VR on Zelda.
Or we just make a video.
Be like, oh, can't get to your thumbsticks. Take a knife, with it on your head, poke it.
Yeah, right. Obviously, do not try this at home. But no. We can make, if they don't come with the strap. We can make the. What's the best way to hold this against your head? So like an NBA headband. Hey, you can tie us. You can duct tape it to your head. You can
football helmet.
Yeah. Yes. You could tie a sock around your head. You could slam your face down on the table. You can lay back on your bed and let gravity do it. I mean, that's a good handful of awesome fun video right there.
Oh man, yeah. This is. I'm kind of excited just to try it. I think it's gonna suck. Well, either because they're not gonna include the strap and they just plan for you to hold it to your head and just be like, oh, this is kind of neat, and then be done.
Yeah.
Or it's gonna be super blurry and I'm gonna hate it. It's not gonna work as well as we hope it. I mean, it could all just be a giant gimmick and not work as well as we hope it does. It could just be terrible. Mm-hmm. My expectations though are that it's going to be terrible. So my thing is, my expectations are that way, that anything less than terrible, I'm going to be impressed by.
Right.
Because it's like, but this is Nintendo. Now, granted, as I said, it's Nintendo. That should give you confidence in the quality of the system build and everything. But, dude, they're touching Mario and Zelda. Mm-hmm. They don't want to mess with the perception of Mario and Zelda.
Right.
So if they're going to put VR on those games,
they're going to make sure that
it has to be something that's quality.
Exactly.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Yeah.
But they're doing it.
That is crazy.
Everyone keeps saying that. Oh, I do have to say this, though. Even though I'm not someone who's excited about VR, there are some naysayers that are mad that Nintendo's doing this, that are even doing VR at all, because they're worried that this is going to harm the reputation of VR. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
And it's cropping back up again now that VR is going to be in real games on Switch. Now, like, this is going to ruin people's perception of VR. All I can say to that is, if you're worried that Nintendo Labo VR is going to ruin the perception of actual VR for people. Where were you?
The reputation.
Where were you when all of these $5 headsets were releasing at Walmart and Amazon for phone VR that literally do nothing? They literally, the lenses in them are just plain. Looks like I'm wearing glasses. They do nothing. You're not. There's no VR. If you're so worried about the reputation of VR being harmed by Nintendo Labo VR, where were you with the millions of these things that sold to kids that already ruined the perception of VR to kids?
I was gonna say there was a perception of VR. I mean,
that's the thing. I honestly think it's one of the most elitist comments I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It's like I understand that you want VR to be mainstream because you're a big VR person.
Yeah.
But like, if you're gonna say that Labo's ruining the perception,
right? It's because
when Labo has better resolution than the original Oculus Rift.
I guarantee you it's because it's cardboard. Guarantee you.
Oh, guaranteed.
Guaranteed because it's cardboard. If it was plastic, I guarantee you nothing would probably be said. It's the cardboard.
Why?
Because cardboard to us is trash.
Go to my Labo piano quick.
Cardboard is something
Not
we...
a good example because I'm missing
right,
one of it.
right. But cardboard we just throw away, we recycle, we do. It's
like
trash. It's literally
I've had
garbage.
this Labo piano since Labo came out, right? And like, yeah, obviously it's movable. You can take it back apart. The bottom line is though, this thing a year old, still fine, still works. So like, the headgear. If you look at the headgear, the actual lenses are inside a hard plastic thing anyways. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be more durable than usual anyways because you're basically just shrouding plastic in cardboard to make it more comfortable. So
it's still I'm guaranteeing you, it's still the concept of cardboard.
I gotta pay $40 for cardboard.
Yeah.
Well, fine. You're paying $40 for the lenses that actually make VR work then.
Right. Yeah. It's not the cardboard. You're probably paying nothing for the cardboard. It's probably paying everything for the lenses.
And the software.
So yes.
And here's the thing. To those people complaining, well, I'm sorry. I guess you're going to have to worry about VR being ruined because ever since this was announced for Super Mario Odyssey and Zelda, both VR Labo kits, both the starter kit and the big $80 one, have jumped up to number 1 and number 2 on sales for video games on Amazon. So, I guess be concerned.
Yeah.
Be concerned because millions of people are picking it up now.
Yeah.
As soon as they announced, this is going to be in Zelda and Mario, we're buying it.
Yeah.
Especially the $40 one, which is clearly number 1 because, hey, cheapest way to get in, $40, sweet. We'll try it. Like, everyone's like, hey, dude, for $40, we'll try.
Yeah, right.
And there is a concern that the ploy here is that it's going to be horrible, but they did it because, and the reason it's not there at launch, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not even going to have reviews of what that VR is like at launch of Labo. So like they're thinking the idea is Nintendo's just trying to sell as many of these VR Labo things as they can, even if it sucks.
Mm-hmm. True.
Which is possible.
Yeah.
We can't dismiss that possibility.
Right.
But still.
But
clearly
enough
people are interested in the idea of trying it.
But again, though,
to buy it.
They wouldn't.
What if it's the other way though?
They wouldn't put it in Zelda and Mario if they weren't confident that this was going to be
a different experience. Even if it's not great, something that you're going to look at least the first time and be like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Even if it's not your preferred way to play, but it's kind of neat.
Right. But they
interested in where this could go and something designed for it.
That's what makes me think that, it's not one of those, we're just trying to push it. It's going to be crap. We're just trying to push it because of the fact that they put it in Zelda and Mario.
Well,
that's the reason why. Because I don't think they're going to put it purposely. They're going to purposely put it in Zelda or Mario. They would have did Yoshi. They would have Kirby. They would have did something that's kind of a not their top of the line. Main
watch yourself
games.
Watch yourself.
I know.
Kirby saves everyone in Smash. Watch yourself.
I know. But you know what I mean.
Yoshi.
You know what I mean.
You're my boy, Blue.
You know what I mean. They wouldn't put it in their main line games if it wasn't something that they were confident in.
Something like Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
Right.
Just a mini game offshoot. What's that armadillo game they have? I always forget what it's called. They've had a few of them come out. They're actually not that bad. Dylan's Rolling Western or whatever. Like it's actually not that bad of a game, but like it's nothing that like if oh my god the reputation Chibi Robo like they already wrecked that reputation. So
Chibi Robo, that was exactly one that I was thinking of too. They would have put it in something like that. Yeah, it wouldn't probably have pushed sales, but it would have shown probably not as much confidence in it.
But what if that's what... See, everyone looks at it as, oh, maybe this is just a ploy to sell more VR. It's actually going to suck. What if it's the exact opposite? What if Nintendo knows this is awesome as hell, but no one will buy it unless it's tied with a major game?
Right.
So they're like, you know what? We're going to get everyone to buy it because of these major games. They're going to try out even just the Labo VR, and they're going to be like, okay, this is actually way better than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be
because there's this perception around VR. There's a perception around VR that if you do not have an HTC Vive or the latest Oculus Rift with all the cameras set up and a powerful PC with the 4K or 1440p lenses or the 1440p screen running at 144 hertz or whatever, like if you don't have all this top of the line stuff, that VR is horrible. That is the perception that exists out there. That anything less than that is not worth doing. And I fully admit that VR is at its best when it's like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No argument there. But on a mass consumer level, how often have mass consumers not cared if things are at the absolute best they can be? You want to know how I know consumers don't care? We have Switches in the first place. We buy consoles in the first place. If we just cared about things being the absolute best they could be, we'd all be building high-end gaming PCs.
Yeah.
Even mid-range gaming PCs.
Right.
That's what we would be doing. My GTX 1070 with my Ryzen 2700X, even when I had the i7 6700K, crushes an Xbox One X. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. It's not even close.
Right. Yeah.
But most consumers don't care about having the best of the best of the best experience. What they care about is having an experience they enjoy.
Right. And not too many people could probably afford the best of the best of the best VR experience because of the PC price.
The PlayStation Move controllers are better on an HD platform, but everyone was playing motion controls on Wii.
Mm-hmm.
Sub HD. Like,
yeah.
People don't always care. The mass consumer base don't care about the best of the best experience. You can have your elitism with the best of the best, and in an ideal world that's affordable and everyone can have that crap. But to have the best of the best VR experience right now costs thousands of dollars.
Yes.
And people don't have that kind of money. So what you need to hope Labo VR is better than those cheap phone alternatives. If it is significantly better than phone VR with those cheap $10 glasses, then you have to give Nintendo credit. Mm-hmm. You have to sit back and be like, hey, they just made VR acceptable by the masses.
Right.
For an affordable price, too. $40 with the system they already own.
Also,
that's what PlayStation VR was supposed to do, and this is even cheaper than that.
And the thing is, too, is if this actually does go well, maybe it's going to lead to other people trying to find better ways to do VR cheaper. Better ways, a different way of actually, doing VR, presenting VR. This could spark innovation for VR.
Maybe.
If it's
well, there's so much focus on the high end.
Right.
And PlayStation VR is the middle ground, right? That's supposed to be the affordable VR solution. Mm-hmm. That's best enjoyed if you buy a $300 PlayStation 4 Pro or $400 when it came out, and then you buy a $200 PlayStation headset, and then you better hope that you have the PlayStation camera to go with it, because the camera is $100 on its own, and the camera is needed if you want the most accurate experience. Not required, but needed if you want the best experience. Mm-hmm. And then you better buy a couple of PlayStation Move controllers to go along with it, and before you know it, you just dropped $1,000.
Right.
At the launch of PlayStation VR, you dropped $1,000 if you wanted the best VR experience, if you didn't already own all the stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it was cheaper, but not necessarily the quote-unquote best way to experience VR. And Nintendo's just saying, look, you buy a Switch, or you already own a Switch, for less than the cost of a new game, here's VR.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to argue that Nintendo's offering the cheapest entry price point into potentially some form of actual VR. And I know if people are like, but it's still a tablet. How's it going to be different than phone VR? The lenses make everything. Mm-hmm. It's all about the lenses. If they nailed those lenses, yes, it's not going to be ideal HD, but guess what? I don't know if people know this. Sickness in VR is not caused by resolution. You obviously always prefer higher resolution. Mm-hmm. But when you get motion sickness in VR, it's not related to resolution. It's related to the frame rate. So if they make all of these experience, that's problem. This is gonna be the problem with Zelda in particular. It's only 30 FPS. So I do worry about the motion sickness in Zelda because of the frame rate. But
is that the frame rate being 30, or is it because like
it's 30
the
and it's
sickness,
inconsistent?
Okay, that's what I was going with. Is it because the frame rate is variable? That's why you get the sickness, or is it because it's a 30?
There's a combination of factors. Basically, motion sickness happens when there's a difference between what your eyes see and your eyes hear. Okay, so when you're like out in the ocean, the reason that people get motion sickness on the ocean is because they're seeing these waves, but they might be hearing something else, and it's not all clicking. So your body's moving this way, your eyes are seeing waves move the other way, and then you're hearing waves hitting the side of the boat that aren't already there. Yeah, right. So all of that combines, messes up your senses, and gives you motion sickness. Right. Not everyone gets motion sickness. That's why there's plenty of people that love being out on the sea and on the ocean and don't have any problems. And not everyone gets motion sickness in VR, no matter what. Not everyone eyes bug out when you go to a 3D movie, but it does happen for some people. And what VR tries to do, and this is why everyone says you need the highest of highest end, is that smooth frame rate where what you see and what you hear and how your head moves is basically all simultaneously at the exact same time.
Right.
There's no stutter in it. There's no delay. Or the delay is so minimal your body can't notice it and doesn't process it differently. And that's the concern with this VR, especially at 30 FPS, because most games at 30 FPS don't stay at 30 FPS. Right. And even then, our eyes might be processing what's going on the screen faster than what the screen's showing you. Then you have the sound coming in, and it can cause motion sickness. So that's why they always say the best VR experience is at 120 FPS or higher, because it's very hard. It's much harder. It's easier, I guess, to trick your brain, because VR is tricking your brain. When you're doing VR, you're not actually in the world.
Well, right.
It is a mind trick to get you into the world. So it's the higher end VR is better at tricking your mind than low end VR. So it's the resolution has nothing to do with it. It can have to do with your enjoyment of it, but not motion sickness. Resolution, like, I don't have motion sickness with my glasses. I talked about this last time. Everything is blurry to me right now. I can't read anything. I know that chair says Maxonomic. I can't read it. I know that like the top of the camera, I can't even tell where the top is. It says Lumix. I know that, but I can't read it.
I can't read it. That's only because I'm being blinded.
I can vaguely tell that thing back there says Nintendo Prime.
That's only because you know it says
like
Nintendo
even
Prime.
Reading the chat right now, I see there's words. I don't know what the words are. Now I know what the words are. Like, the world is blurry to me all the time. I don't get motion sickness from the world being blurry. I might get a headache, and the headache I get is because I'm squinting.
Yeah.
So if the blurriness causes you to squint a lot, then yes, you will get a headache, but you won't get motion sickness.
Yeah.
Big difference. Motion sickness isn't caused by blurriness. Isn't caused by resolution. My world, in actuality, with all my glasses, is not in HD. Not in Ultra HD, not in 27,000K. I guarantee you right now, I probably view the world at 240p if we're going to put a resolution on it.
Nice.
Like, put this on, I'm probably back up to 1080.
Yeah.
It's probably higher than 1080, but still, like, it's a correlation to understanding how motion sickness happens. So, yes, this VR can exist, and people that have motion sickness problems might not have a problem with it. It's all about how well it's done. I think the Labo VR stuff will be better at it than, say, Zelda. That wasn't built specifically for it. Maybe the stuff in Mario Odyssey that is built for it works better. Yeah. And that runs at 60. Yeah. So I don't know what it runs like in VR. Because again, you do it to split it, 2 images. I don't know. Maybe it only runs at 30. But I'm interested just to see what this is, what it's like. And I do think that this serves as basically you have crappy phone VR, all right PlayStation VR, high-end VR. Okay? I think there has to be something between crappy phone and PlayStation, because PlayStation is still not necessarily consumer friendly to get into it.
Right.
And I think Labo VR, $340 to get into it, system plus the kit, that feels like a middle ground to me. Now you're talking about something consumers can look at and be like, hey, I tried that and it's really cool. I might pick it up.
Yeah.
Especially if we start getting cheaper Switches in the future. So I don't know. I think this is this has the potential to, I don't know if anything can make VR go mainstream, but I think this has a better chance of making VR go mainstream.
Yeah.
So I might not be that excited for VR. I am interested to try this out.
No, it does.
I'm more curious. It has my curiosity.
It does help that it's in.
I'm always curious about VR. Well, yeah, I know, but even if it wasn't, it could be any other. It could have just been Odyssey. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I am curious. I was already curious with the Labo stuff, but then I heard some reviews about it, and everyone pretty much had nice things to say. They got to try it out in person. But I'm like, but still, you can tell it's family stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, only one of my kids are old enough to even do it, so I don't know if it's really worth picking up. And then it's like, well, they're going to do this, so now I have to try it at least. So we'll see. We shall see. Bare minimum, if nothing else, in the background of video, somewhere on these shelves, there'll be a pair of VR goggles for Switch. So,
right. Yeah.
Just like the Labo was on the background for the longest time until I ran out of space on the shelves. But
yeah,
whatever. I'll reorganize. I'll make room. I'll make room for
another shelf.
VR.
Another shelf.
No, I just gotta move some stuff here. Wait. I gotta look on camera. Maybe the best place to put it. This is the most visible shelf.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to go here. Sorry, Raphael from outer space. It's time to move on. You're gonna have to sky rockets in flight.
Boy. Hey! Don't get the
afternoon delight.
You're gonna get a copyright claim now. Thanks a lot.
I tried to make the singing so bad that they can't recognize it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
What do you mean? Am I singing? That's what
Afternoon delight. No.
All right.
Oh, Lord.
Do you have anything else you want to say about Switch VR?
No, I'm excited.
Cool.
Other than that, no, I don't really have anything else to say.
All right. Well, I think it's gonna wrap it up then for episode 103 of the Nintendo Prime Podcast. Just a couple topics, but we kind of wanted to keep it a little shorter. Wanted to keep it shorter last week. We actually technically were shorter by like a full 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But I actually wanted to cut this one short as well, just because I have a lot going on this weekend, and the topics we talked about are huge.
Well, also the
and
fact that it's just us two and we're not cutting a patron short.
Kind of a big deal.
Well, right, and it's just us two and we're not cutting a patron short. So, yeah.
I'm going to cut a Patreon. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Seriously, thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to check out our podcast on patreon.com/NintendoPrime if you want to get this podcast, even the audio version, on Sunday before it releases publicly on Monday. Also, this video version, once it's no longer live, because this one was recorded live publicly, will only be available to $10 backers immediately after, and then it'll be $20 backers on... no, $20 backers will have it the same day, I guess. I mean, $20 backers could be on an episode of the podcast.
Yes.
You can also find our podcast on iTunes, on Google Play through the Google Podcast app. You can also find it on the website, NintendoPrime.net. I think it's like /podcast, but whatever. NintendoPrime.net, click on podcast.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the last spot you can find it.
Podbean.
Oh, yeah, Podbean. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because my fiance just opened the door. Yeah. Okay, I'll wrap up first. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Nathaniel Rovajance from Nintendo Prime, and this is
Eric Moore.
You'll find me on Twitter at NintyPrime.
And then me at Emo8790.
All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you later.
Peace.
Bye. I know. I was about to say Fabian, and then she opened the door. I was like, oh, what's going on? Yeah. Not that anything's wrong.